If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
Hey, in this episode of Mind Pump, I kind of dig into Adam a little bit and find out why he decided to become a bro again.
Yeah.
Or is he? You'll find out in this episode. We also talk about signs of when you know you're training too hard. Yes, it is possible. You can train too hard, and it will halt your progress.
You don't train when you're hard.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah,
we cover that in this upcoming episode. We also talk about how I'm overcoming some gut issues and what I'm doing with my nutrition. By the way, if you want to follow Adam's journey, what I like to call the bro journey, you'll find it on his Instagram page at MindPumpAdam.
Swole path.
He's showing his nutrition. He's tracking his exercise. You might want to download Fat Secret app and follow along. Lastly, we've got one of the most exciting promotions we've ever had going on now. And part of it is we know we have a lot of new listeners coming in from some of the other podcasts that we've been featured on more recently. We have a starter bundle. It's the best way you can get started in MAPS programming. And what it includes is MAPS Anabolic, which is what we consider our foundational program. It also includes nutrition and fasting guides to help you with your diet and also learn how to use fasting for health properly. You also get access to our forum for free and MAPS Prime, which has a self-assessment tool so you can correct imbalances. All these things are deducted at like over half price. You can find this at mindpumpmedia.com. Justin.
Whoa.
Justin, I have to talk to you about something. Adam, I need you to cover your ears.
Please,
okay.
talk to me.
Me and Justin have a real quick conversation.
Is this about last night?
Bro, we may be in the midst of the bro version of Adam.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think he's I think he went back to the old.
He got pulled.
Pulled back to
I think you're actually getting the wrong guy to try.
God damn it! I told you not to listen.
I think you're getting the wrong guy to try and team up with you.
Sorry.
I told you not to listen.
I think you're
Son of a bitch.
alone on this one, bro.
Oh man,
I've been kind of flirting with a little bit of darkness myself.
Darkness.
Yeah.
Well, there's
the darkness.
It's.
I'm just teasing you. How many meals did you bring with you today?
I brought 2. That's all I really.
Oh, well, that's not too. That's
Well, I really don't.
In the middle.
I really don't need to bring 5 or 6. I'm not here beyond 3-4 o'clock. So, and I'll probably eat one meal out. And
what are you eating in your meals?
That one's exactly the same. So it's got it's a stir fry that I had yesterday that I made or Katrina made yesterday. So it's leftover from that. So it's basically just a chicken stir fry with a chili paste and
that's delicious.
It's got asparagus, spinach, bell pepper, mushroom, all that stuff inside of it with chicken and then white rice. So I got
that's fantastic. I like your Insta story last night.
What part?
Where you were trying to be a dick to everybody.
Where I was
Crunchy hippie assholes.
Fuck this hippie shit.
Oh yeah,
everybody, I'm not a hippie. I'm so buff. Watch.
I think we've had this tone for quite some time now, and I think there's been a lot of good that's came from it. I think it's been a good message coming from guys that are in the fitness industry, and we're the opposite, I think, of what a lot of people do. But then I also think that there's some balance with that because not everybody has this ability to be intuitive eating and training and doing all that, and there's steps that lead to that. And even myself, somebody who's been doing this for as long as I have been, right away, first thing I noticed when I was tracking that, it's never, no matter what I say and how for sure I think I know, until I actually put it in and I actually look at it, I'm never right on. And I'm always off somewhere, and my body isn't getting ideally what it needs. And instantly once I start to
balance is important. But you said fuck the hippie crunchy shit, like as if you're denouncing balance. You know what I mean? Or was that
no
theatrics?
No, the hippie crunchy bullshit, it would be the extreme is what that means.
Oh, okay.
So that wouldn't be like all of a sudden I'm deciding I'm not going to meditate or work on my breathing or do mobility or yoga. Like all that stuff is awesome and I think important. But
what's the part that you're fucking?
it's the everything we talk about is that we've gotten away from talking about macros and building and going after it like that. So it's it's the
and
other
intensity.
Yeah, all those.
So that's been a focus of mine, like lately too. Like I feel the same. I feel the same sort of pull because I've been voicing against it for so long because it's been a focal point for decades for me, and so getting away from it was really revolutionary. And now, coming back into it with a more integrative approach is something that I definitely want to express. And, going through this process too, it's one of those things like you kind of start to see how all these techniques bleed in and they benefit that portion of training that is the sexier portion of training. And I remember a question like somebody asked, I don't know if it was on a quad or like on the forum, but they asked like, do you guys even really follow your MAPS programs? Or you guys like step by step, like these like workouts you have like laid out? And to be honest, yes, like I have gone through the program specifically, but also have gone in and out and explored other options because like this intuitive process kind of leads you into understanding your body, a little bit more and trying to pursue new techniques and new ways to express movement. And so like I've been kind of pulled in all these different directions to try and figure out how to sharpen and refine and optimize the process, but I'm getting back to the foundation in the meat and potatoes. So that's kind of exciting.
Isn't that funny though? That's like the process of learning is like you'll go way over here, right? And you'll learn that. And then because you're so far in that direction, you get a lot of pitfalls. You either overdo it or you start to get negatives as a result of avoiding the other side. And then the learning process will typically bring you way over to the other side. And then you start to bounce back and forth, but each bounce is less extreme until you kind of,
it's a
come
little
more towards the middle, if you will.
It's to me, I see it more as like a give and take. I mean, someone asked a really good question just the other day on Q&A, and I thought that was a really, really good question. And something that had been on my mind a lot is that no matter how you draw it up and look at it, there's give and take. If you end up spending so much time in this world, it's going to take away from another part of the world. So understanding, what your body needs and what you want, too, is really important. I think that we stress so much about, the average, most people out there are not spending the time doing what they need to be doing for their body, and it seems to be the opposite, right? If you're the extreme hippie crunchy side, you probably need a little bit of beast mode in your life and probably need some intensity and probably could be training a little bit harder and be a little bit more loose about things. And so, anti everything that has anything to do with it's artificial or processed. And it's like, all I do is eat my greens. And if it didn't come from dirt, I refuse to touch it. And, I think those people can have a little bit of flexibility in one direction. And I think the guys that are all extreme hardcore, take everything under the sun to try to build 1 more pound of muscle on their body or burn 1 more pound of fat, and they're using everything they possibly can and they're hammering the fuck out of their body. Those guys could use some time of meditation, relaxing. So, you have to give and take a little bit to be in that. And I think that, part of my journey was, heading over to the other side was to embrace all of it, let go. I hadn't been on a scale. I hadn't taken a mirror selfie to kind of like look at where I'm at. I haven't measured and weighed anything. I hadn't tracked anything. I hadn't worn my Fitbit. Like I totally got rid of everything and said, I'm going to completely embrace this, culture of just intuitive everything. And there was lots of great takeaways to that. But there was a lot of things, too, that I missed about tracking. And one of those biggest things for me is just being certain that, okay, I am hitting my targets. And the very first thing that was very glaring to me, and I just brought it up today on my Insta story, was we talk really heavy about the overconsumption of protein. And we push that hard on people because in our experience with bodybuilding, and in that culture, guys are doing 3 grams of protein and taking 2-3 shakes and 1 bar here, another bar there, like crazy, and overdoing it. So we're trying to be the counter to that culture But in reality, for someone like me, I grossly undereat protein, and it's
now, is it because you don't like protein, or is it because you tend to crave or want to eat other macros?
I love protein. I love meat, but you got.
So what is it? What is it then? When you're into when you're not tracking, what do you think is preventing you from eating the optimal?
Well, it's not like there's something preventing. It's just my body I will naturally gravitate to a carbohydrate over a protein.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm wondering
But even like
looking back, what is
like
it? Is it convenience?
A normal day, okay, 4 meals. That's a lot, right?
Right.
4 meals. I know most of us eat 2-3 times a day, so 4 meals a day is a normal solid day of eating for me. It would be less sometimes too. Sometimes I eat as low as 2 or 3, but let's say 4 meals. All 4 meals, I get a balanced amount of protein. 30 to
50 grams.
30 to 40 grams. 50 is a lot. You know how much 50 grams of meat is? Do you actually know how much that is? That's like 12 ounces, dude. You know, not very few people eat 10 to 20. Now, I do some meals I do get like that, but normally if you go to a Chipotle or those are 4-ounce servings, dude. You double it up, that's 8. That's now you're only talking 40 something grams of protein. So do that times 4 meals. That's 140 to 160. I'm 220 pounds. That's a good day. That means every single meal I had a good balanced amount of protein. Now say a day where I'm busy.
So did you track what you were eating before you were trying to add? So
of course. Yeah. Oh, of course. That's why I'm saying this. That was the first thing that was extreme.
What were your total calories around?
Oh, my total calories are around 2,500 to 3,500 depending on the day.
So are you keeping the calories the same at bumping the protein, or are you bumping everything up?
You know, like if you follow my Insta story, you'll see what's going on right now. This first week for me is completely just tracking. Like I'm not trying to follow anything right now. I'm making some subtle adjustments because I've been tracking since last week, and right away I noticed I was under protein. So the first thing for me is just make sure I'm getting adequate protein every single day. I think that in itself, I'm already seeing my body respond. So that was the first.
What are you aiming for?
Right around 180 to 220.
Okay, so you went from like 120, 140 to 180, 220.
Yeah.
And the calories, are you keeping the same, or are they going up from those?
Well,
extra?
Yesterday, Sunday, we went on a big hike. We had a great training session. You know, I didn't have my Fitbit on that day. Katrina had hers, so she was well over 15,000 steps. So that day I consumed like 3,500 calories. Well, yesterday I didn't do any hiking. I did a trigger session for my workout. So my consumption was more like 2,800 calories. So, you know, I'm adjusting according to my movement, but I'm not. Like I try and tell people the first like week or two is really just kind of figuring out your caloric maintenance. Like I need to see, you know, what day, now that I don't have Orange Theory or anything outside of that, like I was stepping 15 to 20,000 steps 2 days out of the week, plus another 2 days out of the week where I was stepping like 12, 15. Now I'm dropping as low as 6, sometimes 8,000 steps in a day. That's half the movement.
So the goal now is to build muscle. You bumped your protein.
I'm going to lean out too at the same time.
Okay, so body composition change.
Yeah.
So what about the scale? Are you trying to move it up or stay the same?
So the goal is always to stay right, especially at the very beginning. Like I'll manipulate the weight later down the road, but
right now
it's to just exchange. I don't want to.
You want to build and get leaner.
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to stay the same on the scale.
So your calories. So the extra 50 to 80 grams of protein is, you know, another 200 or 240, 250 grams of, 250 calories. Is that going to be, what I'm saying is that going to be extra on your calories, or are you keeping the calories where they were?
Slight surplus.
Yeah. Are you going in a slight surplus with the extra protein, or are you lowering something else?
Right now, what I'm doing is getting my macros at a good balance. And what I mean by that is this. So when I tracked last week and I was like, I'm not going to try and do anything. I'm just going to see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like one of the habits that I had picked up recently was, you know, Chipotle is a regular meal that we all eat, right? So when I go there, a lot of times I get my burrito bowl with double meat, and then I would eat it with chips. Well, those chips account for 200 calories of nothing but really carbohydrates, and I need about 200 more calories of protein. So that's an example of something that has been dropped off the diet, and now it's been replaced. So I went over to get the Vitality shakes the other day, which is just a green smoothie blend, and I had some.
That's the one from Whole Foods or whatever.
Like that. It's not Whole Foods. But
I know which one you're talking about.
So and I had some of the organic protein scooped into that, so I replaced it with some veggies and protein instead of what would those calories probably would be in chips before.
So your calories are roughly the same.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's why I don't want to lose weight. I don't want to see the scale. And this would be an example of me cutting calories. Would be if all of a sudden I saw the scale.
Now, is your
dipping.
Training? What's different about? Because I want.
No, it's a good question.
And I want to spell this out for people because
these are all very good questions.
Because you're going to be You're actually going to be, and I hope. I mean, obviously, this is something you're putting out there. You're going to be tracking not just your food, but you're going to be doing like pictures, right, to show people.
Yeah, I've got
what changes you can make.
Yeah, I've taken before pictures and everything, and I'll eventually get everything all posted up for people so they can. So I'm logging everything. So
are you doing like a Maps? You're doing like Maps aesthetic based programming.
Yeah. So Maps Black is the foundation of what I'm doing, but I'm also blending it with Prime and some of our mobility stuff. So the Black is going to be the foundation.
Oh, like the Sexy Athlete bundle. Kind of like that.
Kind of like that. Yeah. Kind of like that. And so that's the main focus. Although there'll be little things that I add to that because like yesterday was a trigger blended mobility day together, but for the most part, yeah, Maps Black is what we're
now. How has your training? Okay, so before you were heavily focused on mobility and. You say intuitive eating, but it was probably, more it was geared towards just overall wellness, health, and maintenance. Now you're pushing a little body composition change, build muscle, burn body fat. You bumped up your protein by it seems like about 40 to 80 grams a day, which you're still not in the ridiculous range. You're only probably at 1 to 1. Calories are on the same. Training has changed. What was your training like before? Because right now you're doing kind of like Sexy Athlete bundle where you're doing like like mostly aesthetic, but adding some performance and some prime.
Well, this is a good point and a good question also. And I think to caution people, I think what they intend to do right now and what I want to show people is that you don't want to go from one extreme to the other extreme right out the gates. You don't need to do that. Our bodies are extremely smart. They'll get adapted to whatever you throw at it. And if I throw the whole kitchen sink at it at the very beginning, then yeah, sure, I'll see great change in the first week or two, but then I'll hit a hard plateau. So even like going into Black right now, I'm like letting off if I feel like that's more than enough for today because my volume is extremely low. So because
you're slowly going to ramp that up.
Yeah. So there'd be weeks where, I was in the gym always this entire time of intuitive eating and training. I was in the gym every week 3 to 5 times minimum still. But a lot of times there'd be a week I go to the gym and actually never really hit any iron. About the only thing I never ever neglected because legs are a priority for me was squatting and dead. So squatting and dead.
Plus they're super functional. Everybody should do them.
Exactly. And the way I looked at it was this is going to be a great way to at least maintain a lot of my physique and size by doing those big compound lifts. Then the rest of everything was really built around all the stuff I wanted to fix. And so a lot of mobility, a lot of corrective stretching, a lot of stuff like that, a lot of prime. A week could go by and that's all I did was squat, deadlift, and then all the rest was prime and mobility. So now that I'm transitioning over into Black, I know Black's a lot of volume, and I know I haven't been giving my body that much volume. I don't want to go from one extreme to the other, so I'll follow the structure of it. But then what I will do is, I'll be able to tell, like, well, this is a lot. If this is way more than any training session that way more volume than what I had done. And by volume, so people understand what that means, it's sets, repetition, and weight. So
just total workload.
Yeah, total workload for a workout. If I hit a session like today is going to be a great, because yesterday was trigger, so now I'm back to a foundational day today. And if I'm, 40 minutes into it, and I'm not done with my routine, but I know I've done way more than I had done anything I did last week, I may cut it off. I may shut it down that day because I know I don't need to push the body any further than that.
What's interesting about this whole process is, at the end of the day, we've all been in the fitness industry for a long time, but we all love the way you can manipulate and change things to change everything from state of mind to your body, how it looks, to how it moves, to all these different things, right? Your health, all these factors. And what's really cool is knowing what you know and really being aware of how your body's changing is how quickly you can elicit change in your body by being really smart about. I can already tell. I could tell
Yeah, you tighten the screws.
I could tell last week you started making a little bit of changes in the way your body looked. And so it's really cool to do. And I think, I mean, all joking aside, I joke around and said you were, being an asshole, whatever, on Insta story. And I just think that's hilarious. But all joking aside, I think what's really cool is being able to have fun with these types of things. And as hosts of a fitness podcast, it kind of keeps you sharp. You know what I mean? Because you're able to comment on certain things and talk about certain things as you're experiencing them. And there's going to be people in our audience who want to, who can learn from all the experiences you're going through. Well, it's always different.
I think it's important to check ourselves constantly as to our message and to get back to other ways of thinking and express the way we work out, the way we move, and pursue other ideas, so we don't get stuck in and become dogmatic. It's like everything that we try so hard not to be like, and I know
it's a constant check, isn't it?
It is, and I mean the human body. It's like every day is a new challenge, and obviously you want to get to a point where you become efficient at something. And so when you start to realize you're becoming efficient at something, that's really where you need to pursue new stimulus. And so even if it's something like old we're revisiting, I think it's important that we go through this process again.
I think what's funny is that, if you talk about like, bodybuilders with big egos, right? Because we talked about this when we were at PaleoFX. Bodybuilders with big egos, and they're all about their insecurities and their, whatever. You see that on the other side too. You see that with people who are extreme on the other side, whose super ego is how, like, I'm so natural. I'm so
natural. I walk in the men's bathroom barefoot.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just as pretentious to me. I thought it was just as pretentious as the bodybuilding, just different. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's different, and I feel like. Justin hit it right on the head. I've been feeling this for a while now of our message, and it's kind of a bummer because I was really enjoying a lot of the benefits from it myself, and I think that it was an important move and transition for me. But then, of course, like you said, real quick it can sound dogmatic, and then I even felt that tone on the forum, and some people had expressed that, and it's like, listen, just because we are expressing and sharing our story and our journey where we're at doesn't mean it's like. We are like super anti-dogmatic. Like, I do not want to be that way, and I refuse to be in a box. And so I will continue to do this as long as we have a podcast. As soon as somebody starts to fucking think that I'm a certain way, I will switch gears just because of that, because I find it's necessary to teach and show that the importance of that. And every time I learn something new about myself and my body.
That's the important thing, right? The important thing is to take like the parts that you've learned that really have lots of value, and take those,
keep them,
and kind of like bring them. It's almost like you're walking through life with this backpack, and you're gonna walk and you're gonna see certain things, and every once in a while you should pick something up and put it in that backpack and take it with you. An easy example of this philosophy is if you look at and this is an easy example because people will be able to get it right away too, is if you look at mixed martial arts. The evolution of mixed martial arts really is in taking what works from different fighting styles and utilizing what works and in combination with other things that work from other martial arts and making you a complete and effective fighter. And if you look at mixed martial arts and its evolution, man, it changes so quickly. I remember it wasn't that long ago where in MMA they were talking shit about spinning heel kicks and spinning, body kicks and, checking people with kicks real low, right? And then all of a sudden you got some dude who did everything else real well, but he was so good at implementing a couple things that now, you see spinning heel kicks. You see, some of these moves. People are real effective at them.
You see how it could be applied, and it's deadly.
Yeah, so it's really a lot like that. And fitness and wellness and health and that whole thing, it's full of pitfalls, and the biggest pitfall has got to be where your ego steps in, and then you become this like that's what I am, that's all I am, and you lose the potential positives from all these different things. We talk about it all the time, but we're not immune we're definitely not immune to it.
No.
Oh no, of course. And there's a lot of things too that, you know, I notice. I mean, I'm curious to see, you know, when as I go through this transition for me on things that I have found very important to my life that I don't want to lose. For example, you know, part of this whole intuitive eating, all this thing like that, awareness, and, you know, I've also attached, you know, the meditation, the breathing, the reading. Like I'm knocking you know, 1 to 2 books out every month. Like there's certain things I've been doing incredible amounts of work on mobility and stretching. Like I don't want to lose a lot of that stuff. So, and I do know, like I said earlier, that there's always give and take a little bit when, you know, you it's going to be tough for me to live in both worlds completely. And so already in my mind, I'm thinking of, you know, practices that I want to put in place so I keep my mobility while I start to build some size on me, and I don't stop knocking out, you know, a book plus a month, and I don't stop meditating and things like that. So, you know, I'm gonna make sure I put some things in place that allow me to still stay mindful, still stay present, still stay mobile,
And you know what's
while
really,
I get jacked
and
as
what's
fuck.
really interesting too is I just realized what we've been doing this whole podcast is we talk about them being worlds, 2 worlds.
Yeah.
In reality, that it's not. It's all the same, right? If your goal is optimization and enjoying your living, that it doesn't. It's not one world or the other world, or this one over here, that one over there. It's the whole. It's all right. It's the whole thing. It's about optimizing the entire thing, which means you're going to focus on. At times, you're going to build lots of strength or power or some of that stamina that you need, that intense stamina.
Yeah, how do you keep the integrity in your joints while you're
Like,
doing that process? All that's integrated.
All of it. All of this stuff, like maximum performance, but also, you know, Paul Chek was an example of this. The dude kind of can do it all. And I find that, and he does it all very comfortably. And he's been practicing this obviously for a very, very long time. So it'll be cool. It'll be cool to see, man, your progress pictures and what you can manipulate and change, and how your body can, you know, from a visual standpoint, and, you know, what people will see. It's also going to be interesting to see if you going through it this time, how you can not develop imbalances along the way.
Yeah, that to me is the most important of all the things that I want. Like, because I do want to say, you know, in going back to the Insta story and, you know, hollering out the crunchy hippie thing, and I'm sure I've offended people.
That's your first time offending people.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
There's some things that, I mean, I'm in some of the best. It's great, right? I've been able to say this several times now, that I'm in the best something of my life, you know, and right now I'm in the best, like, mobile shape of my life. Like I am, I'm my low back pain is gone completely. My knees don't ache. My toe, even the way my toes are touching and gripping the ground is different. Like I have such better connection and to all of my muscles. It's crazy. I can see and feel a huge difference in that. And I know that that's because of all the work that I put in. And I hope that I can make sure I keep practices in place while now I shift my focus. Because even though they are not separate worlds, it is all one world. They are different focuses, and some of them are conflicting with each other. You know, so building a ton of muscle is conflicting with being super hyper mobile. So, you know, how do I live in both worlds, or how do I meld them together? Will be exciting. It'll be fun. And I love challenges. I love challenging my body. I love learning about my body. So going after it I don't have to be on stage, so I don't have to be so focused on just the way I look.
Well, that's cool, because then you don't have to go so extreme with your diet.
Right. Right. So I get to, but I do want to chase that. I even thought about looking into some of the big shows that are coming up and mirroring a prep, so people could follow. Even though I don't have any plans to getting on stage, but mirroring what
we'll crash an event. You just peel down.
Yeah,
in the
have one of those breakaway outfits. You know.
Well,
Adam Schaefer.
I was telling Katrina, I was like, you know, maybe I'll get in a show. You know, like maybe I'll drop in.
I'll be your fluffer.
She's like, are you stupid or what? I'm like, what? She's She's like, you know what's going to happen to you. She's like, you've been disconnected. You've been out of the circuit now for over a year. They're not going to place you above the top 10 or 15. You're going to get a horrible placing no matter how great of a physique you bring. Why would you do that to yourself? Like, well, I wouldn't care. I'm not going to go win first place. Like, I'm not trying to get
God, she said the wrong thing to you. Knowing you as well as I do. That's like when Adrian That's like when Adrian told Rocky, you can't win when he's going to fight the Russian.
You shouldn't do it.
Anytime, can I just tell you listeners right now, female listeners.
Don't say you can't.
Don't challenge your man's ego by telling him he can't do something because odds are he's going to try harder. And if you really think he's going to get hurt or something, you're better off just telling him like, hey, listen, whatever you want to do.
That. You need to hire it out.
Well, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm going to fix that.
Considering she's a ninja, I wouldn't put it past her to intentionally have done that just so she can see that. I'm sure it benefits her when I'm walking around naked looking like that around the house.
These are the
sure, it's not hard for her to look at that. So
smart ladies have picked up on this.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably a ninja move.
Totally.
You know, I wanted to. Somehow we landed here. And I guess a transition or a segue into, the training too hard or over intensity. Or
yeah, that's a great topic, actually. How are you going to know? And I'll ask both you guys because I know Justin is. He's also voiced that he's going to kick up. You've been doing this now for 2 weeks now, or a week or so, where I've seen your workouts and you're doing some pretty intense stuff.
Yeah, and I'm a lot like Adam. I'm trying to like really slowly, like gradually ramp up the volume. I think is the big factor for me because just knowing that like the change of environment and the change of us like moving to this location, I know the volume has gone way down, and I've been expressing strength, but I've been more experimenting with different types of movement and like trying to figure out like what my body's capacity is. And so now the focus is, okay, let's get back to barbell training. Let's get back to, some more intense movements, compound movements that, I want to take it step by step and still apply this long end range of motion intense work, so I have strength in that movement and its quality. So I guess I'm taking it like a skill. So like if I'm working on a squat, I'm really hyper focused on what I'm doing with that squat, and I'm ramping up that intensity, and I'm trying to max and peak on that intensity.
Well, let's for people who are going to follow along, because I guarantee you there's going to be listeners who are like, cool, I want to do this. Also I want to start ramping things up. What are some signs that you guys personally look for that tell you when you're working out too hard or too much? You know what I mean? Like when do you know, okay, I need to scale it back a little bit to maximize, my body's progress?
Yeah. When it sort of starts to detract from your like the next day, like I feel like my energy levels have completely diminished, to where even if I'm doing a trigger session, sometimes I can feel like, I feel fried. Like I just feel like I don't have the type of energy or motivation like I normally would. Whereas if I look at it more like I want to ramp up my intensity, sure, but I don't want that to detract from building up that volume. So
you'll notice the next day that you'll feel like instead of like, okay, I worked out real hard today, and then it's the next day, and now I'm feeling kind of run down. And that's when you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's funny because Justin and I are like will use the opposite things to give us feedback on that. So what I'll do is I will actually I'm trying to do as little as possible. Mm-hmm. So and
you got to be clear with that. As little as possible
to elicit change.
That's it.
So this is and I look at it at snapshots for the week. So for me, Justin is probably more likely to overdo it, listen to his body the next day and say like, whoops, a little bit too much, I need to back off. I'm more likely to underdo it and go, hey, next week I need to kick it up a notch.
How do you know that?
I take snapshots of the week. So I'll look at a week. So then, this will be a better conversation in about a week or two when I actually have a week or two under the belt, because then I can give people more specific numbers like X amount of steps and this is where my calories are, yada, yada. So
You'll be doing this all on your Instagram page, right?
yeah.
Mind Pump Adam.
I'm already sharing the story right now.
Cool. You guys got to watch. I tell you what, if you're into, if your goals are aesthetic based and you want to build muscle and kind of burn body fat, Adam yesterday posted his macro count. He's posting. I'm assuming you're going to post pictures of your progress. Like it'll be cool to follow.
It's only been a week, so I don't have any great progress.
Well, this is the best time to start, though, right? Start following the process.
I'm logging everything, though.
Yeah,
I'll take pictures. I take pictures every day, so I give myself feedback. But I'm not going to post that every day. That's ridiculous.
No, but then you're posting.
Yeah,
like
I'll share everything.
Excellent.
But so what I'm doing is I'm always going to lean on the less volume, less intensity side, and then if a week goes by, if I see no progress in my pictures, my scale, how I look, so I'll use that as my feedback. I'll look at my picture, I'll look at my scale, I'll look at my strength, I'll look at all those things and say, am I stronger? Do I look better? Is my weight up or down this week? Now, based off of that, going into this next week, I will either ramp up intensity and or volume and or keep the same depending on the feedback that I'm given. So I'm more likely, which is very common for me during this process of trying to figure out right where I need to be, I'll have a week where, a week goes by and I go like, fuck, I look exactly as the same as last week, which is totally normal. And I tell people that's okay. And I would rather bode on that side than the other side of pushing it too fast, too hard. I lean more towards I'm going to do little, and then, hey, next week looks like no real change. Now I'm going to add this into my routine or restrict from this, and based, and I'll make those adjustments every week, whether it be calories, steps, or just flat out volume.
Now, are there any red flags like, oh shit, that was a little too much, like, or I think I need to back off on this or whatever?
A large swing on the scale.
Oh, I see.
That's
what do you consider large?
Well, my body when I'm drinking a gallon of water plus a day, my body easily fluctuates 6 to 8 pounds through the night. So if I
that's quite a big fluctuation. I don't know why I said that in an Italian accent. That's quite a big fluctuation.
I get up and pee 3 times in the middle of the night. It's really annoying. I have a tiny bladder, so
you should wear a diaper.
I thought about that actually. Katrina wasn't really excited about that idea.
I could get kinky.
She'd have to change it.
Yeah, she was down for like a night, like of role playing like that, but like a constant thing like that wouldn't be cool.
I made a duty.
This isn't that cool.
God, that's weird.
Not if I'm into changing your diaper. So if I see a huge shift, which for me won't happen because I'm pretty in tune with my body, even though a lot of things, and I think this is important to note, I mentioned before I was doing Orange Theory and all these steps. So now that we're doing just the podcast in here, I haven't tracked since we were just doing the podcast. So I'm actually really interested to see what a week of like stepping and moving. I have a feeling I'm extremely low in comparison. Like I think we've had some days.
So you're gonna put your Fitbit on?
I'm already wearing it.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. No, I'm already wearing it. So once I get that feedback, that will give me a really good idea. Because it's crazy, and this is why I think this part is so important, is I can easily go from 3,000 to 5,000 calories consuming in a day, and they all be good and okay, like depending on where my activity level is. Because I can easily be a day that we didn't do shit all day long and only burn about 2,800 calories. And then I could have a day that we go hike San Antonio, we have a leg training session. Katrina and I go for a walk to walk the dogs. Next thing you know, I'm at 20,000 steps. I burned 5,007 calories. And, my macros should reflect that somewhere in my week. It should change and fluctuate based off my activity.
Well, so wow, you guys are kind of motivating me right now. This sounds kind of fun because I've already started incorporating more regularly. Well, rewind a little bit. I was dealing with some pretty interesting autoimmune kind of gut issues, like I did way back in the day for like 3 weeks, and it was really bothering me. And I'll tell you something right now. For anybody who has gut issues, they'll understand. You can't focus on anything but that. You can't, you just don't progress. You don't progress in your training. You don't progress in almost anything. You just feel like shit. It's so connected to your physical performance, your mind, your sleep, your attitude. It's really annoying. I'm on a protocol now that I think is addressing the issue, and I'm starting to feel really good. And now that I'm feeling good, I started doing my old school MAPS anabolic trigger sessions, which Every single time I do trigger sessions consistently, I'm always blown away by how much of an impact they make on my aesthetics. It really every single time I do it, it blows me away because I'll do them consistently. So for me, consistently is 3 times a day on my non-heavy workout days. And I'll see it that day. Literally that day, I'll notice in the mirror, my muscles look fuller. And within 2 or 3 days of doing them, I notice that I just look more sharp. Sharp would be the right term, I think. My muscles look fuller and more defined. So I've already been doing that because I've been feeling better. But you guys are kind of motivating me to, want to, I don't know, train and for me, it just means just getting leaner, like getting a little bit more shredded.
It's a good time. It's summer right here, man. We're going to be around pools. We're going to be taking some trips. We'll be out in Vegas. We're going to be out in Florida real soon here. Oh, by the way, that reminds me.
Yes. Oh, good. Yeah, there you go.
We're going to be out in Tampa, Florida. We're going to see Lane Norton. We're going to see Ben Pakulski. Pakulski. So we'll be out there with the M140 gym, that crew. Really excited to do that. We're going to be there for a good 4 or 5 days. So if you're a listener, you have a podcast, you're out there, or you guys have some recommendations of people that live out there.
We will be on as many podcasts as we possibly can in the area. So if you know podcasts that are located in that area, let us know. Actually, who should they email? Admin?
You can go to info at mindpumpmedia.com, or you guys can just go to the Instagram and hit mindpumpmedia, the DM Excellent. Over there. Taylor can get on top of that. But it's the Tampa area, so just remember Florida's a big fucking state. So if it's if it's 7 hours away, okay, that's not. I mean, I appreciate the love.
No, right in that area.
Yeah, we'll be around the Tampa area, or so anywhere within an hour or two from that area. I'm sure we can make a connection over there. So we'll be doing that.
Cool. Thanks for that, Adam. So back to the whole training too hard thing. For me personally, I notice if I train too hard, I feel I'll start to feel it in my joints.
Yeah,
I start to get a little bit
like achy.
Yeah, in the connective tissue, because my tendency is a little unique in the sense that my tendency when I'm going too hard is I start pushing the weight a lot. I start lifting more and more and heavier because if my ego gets attached to anything with resistance training, it gets detached to strength.
You just said something that's a really good point that I want to point out that I didn't mention that I'm doing also because of this. I feel like a lot of people, and I'm sure you can agree with this, this is probably you and me, tend to stick in a modality or phase when talking about MAPS,
like our favorite
that you love, the heavy 1 to 5 range, right?
Yep.
So I'm actually, when I'm starting black right now, I'm starting in phase 3, even though our program is designed to take you through 1, 2, and 3, and that's because it's the opposite phase of what I've been gravitating towards for the last 6+ months.
It wouldn't make any sense to go phase 1.
Exactly. So if people understand that, and this is really a great way for you to uniquely use MAPS, because MAPS has, all the programs have either 3 or 4 phases. So it's almost like there's 3 programs built into one. And if you are somebody right now who you are like a strength guy, you love, or girl, you love lifting 1 to 5 repetitions, then I would start you in like a phase 3. And if you're somebody who's more like the bodybuilder type where you love supersets, high intensity working out, and you're lots 10 to 15 rep range, and you get on one of the MAPS programs, I would then start you for sure in phase 1. So based off of what you do most of the time, if you want to see the maximum results from the program, I would start in an opposite phase than what you normally
That's just what's going to get your body changing. Otherwise your body's not going to change if you stay in the same thing all the time. And for me,
right.
And again, it's a constant check, but when I start to lift heavy and I start to get strong, nothing excites me more or feeds my ego more than that feeling. I tend to identify with it, right?
Yeah.
And I'll push it and I'll start to feel it in my joints. I'll start to feel a little stiffness in my hips or in my elbows. And I can always warm up real well, prime real well, make it go away for a second, and then go push that weight again. And then my diet will start to reflect it to where I start to push, certain things in my diet, like, more cholesterol, more, proteins and saturated fats, which tend to make me feel, really, really strong. So I'm trying to keep that in check. And for me, if I'm being smart and I'm being aware with my training, I really can do a good job with this if I'm really trying to pay attention to. And it's that I should feel good. I should feel good after my workout. I should feel good the day after my workout. I should feel great in my everyday life. I shouldn't feel like you were saying, Justin, we're sitting here recording and I'm like, oh, damn, like hurting or
hammered.
Oh my God, I'm so sore, or you know what I mean? I should feel like, wow, I feel fantastic. I got lots of energy. My mood is good. Sleep is a big one. One thing that I notice, if I train too hard, I can't sleep. It's almost like I'm too amped to go to bed, even though I know I'm tired. So if my sleep isn't feeling good, like all these are really good signs that, I need to kind of scale back on something or start to switch gears. So this is going to be fun. I think I'll.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point. And that's when I was talking about squat and kind of getting back into the skill of it. I am the same, where I get excited that I'm lifting heavy again. And so sometimes you get disconnected as you're doing the lift. And my focus completely with this process going back into intensity and intensifying these lifts is to stay connected throughout the entire rep range. Mm-hmm. And that's really a challenge, because lifting heavier weights, you tend to disassociate. You tend to get into the rhythm of it and the momentum of it, and you want your mechanics to kind of produce what you want to produce, and then just
move.
Generate as much force as you can, and just move it off of you, right? Which is it's really challenging to keep that tension, keep that connectivity, throughout that entire rep range. So, as I'm loading the plates and as I'm ramping myself up, I'm trying to check that. So I haven't earned the next plate yet because I felt myself get disconnected in any portion of that lift. So anyway, that's something that I want to throw out there is as I'm benching, as I'm overhead pressing, as I'm deadlifting, is anything that I'm adding and I'm plate loading where I'm like, oh fuck, I'm strong, I'm gonna go heavier. Did I earn that weight yet? Did I do the full range of motion that I've been working on so hard to establish and connect to? So
and control with no bounce or anything like that, right?
Right. Because even I notice as I'm connecting to at the bottom of my squat, am I engaging first, driving my feet and then connecting my hips and my glutes and establishing that first and then driving out, or am I just pushing, and then leaning, and watching my knees? It's
Now, Justin, are you doing the nutrition side as well? Is that changing for you during this process, or?
I'm not counting macros, but I'm still extracting dairy, and so I'm doing sort of more of an elimination reintroduction. And so that was the first item that I'm focusing on.
Just
the next one, is going to be more gluten focused. And
now, have you noticed anything from cutting dairy out yet?
I have.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know it sucks.
What's your favorite,
dude? Cheese is my il nana, right? It's the one. But I was just doing it. I feel like it was too frequently falling into my diet. It was just there too often. So extracting it, I feel less inflammation. I feel
wow.
I still have a bit of heartburn on occasion, but I noticed that I definitely have less inflammation, so
that's excellent.
That's apparent.
Yeah, for me, for nutrition, my nutrition doesn't dramatically change usually, but I was pushing the shit that I know doesn't really work with me well a little too frequently before, which is why I think I fell into, where I wasn't feeling good. I would have, pasta here, or I'd have a treat here or there, or I threw in a tiny bit of dairy or things that I know bother me. And I just became a little bit too frequent, I think, for my body. And I got a little cocky. Mm-hmm. So I'm just being very, very good about eliminating the things that I know just don't serve me well. And that's basically what I've changed so far. So this is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, no, it will be. Circling back to the main topic of, the over intensity thing is, and why I sent that message to the group text last night that I really wanted to talk about it was I just had been going through my feed and I'd seen a lot of these young guys and pushing each other, and it's like I get the athlete side, you know, because you feed off that energy of another guy. Oh, 5 more, come on, push more of this.
Yeah.
But I see these guys were the ones that I'm referring to right now are in their early 20s, young, athletic, really fit guys that are, you know, trying to keep building more muscle. And I'm watching like their training and how they're training their buddies and everyone working out. And I'm going like, man, if you only knew, like if you'd like scaled back on that and kind of found a better balance, that your body would just explode and grow. And when you just train the fuck out of it intensity wise like that, people don't realize how smart the body is, man. It's crazy how quick it gets used to what you're throwing at it. And when you throw everything at it really early on in your training, it gets adapted to that. And then to take it to the next level requires so much more. And then eventually you just run out. You run out of intensity and time. You know, you can only add so much volume in an hour or 2 hour of your workout, to where then eventually you end up doing what a lot of these guys do, which is double days and all that stuff. When you're trying to build muscle, all those extra calories that you're burning just makes it that much harder for you to replenish the body with the nutrients that you need to now then refuel, grow, repair, and you just into this vicious cycle of, you know, what you recall the, you know, recovery breakdown, where you're just constantly stuck in this trap of hammer, recover, hammer, recover, and then you're never letting the body fully recover.
You're never growing, you're never adapting.
Yeah.
It's just recover from the damage and then damage yourself again. And people confuse recovery with adaptation. So they think, oh, I got sore, muscle recovers, now it's going to build and get stronger. No, not necessarily. Many times all it does is just heal. And in extreme cases, if you continue to tear down and you know, tear things down, it doesn't even fully recover, so you actually start to go negative. But at best, if you're not sending a signal that's telling your body to adapt by building muscle, you're just staying in the same spot. You're just tearing down, building up, tearing down, building up, and they never go any further. And a lot of people are stuck in this. A lot of people go to the gym and it's the same thing week in and week out, and at best they're maintaining.
Yeah, they're just getting best. They get really efficient at the workout they're doing, and then in their head it's like, oh, it was so difficult and so hard. I'm so glad it's not at that like it was during week 1 and week 2. But in reality, like, I'm always kind of seeking that feeling, and that's you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's the whole part of like MAPS and the idea of the phasing and never allowing you to stay in a certain phase for longer than 3 or 4 weeks is just when you start to get really good at that workout.
You change it.
Yeah, you change it and you get uncomfortable again. And it's tough. It's a very hard transition, you know, to go when you just start feeling like hitting your stride that, yeah, that workout was easy. I'm throwing them 100-pound dumbbells up like nothing.
Yeah, but what you're seeking is growth.
Right.
And that's the formula for growth.
Right.
So if you stray away from that, then you're not going to grow.
Now,
here's
something that I want to try when I have the time to do so, because we know how frequency and, you know, greasing the groove, as Pavel will call it, or practicing exercises, is an effective tool to build muscle and get stronger. And what I mean by that is, like, rather than going, you know, balls out squats, you know, for a workout, you could squat with less intensity every day and practice that technique. And especially if it's a change for you, you'll find your strength and muscle will go up as a result. Here's something that I was thinking about. I was actually talking about this with Jessica. She's going to do this with me. When we have the time, what we want to do is we want to pick like 3 lifts, like squat, you know, overhead press, and maybe a pull-up or something like that, right? Or a deadlift, or something kind of a hip movement, an upper body movement, and then something else. And what we want to do is every hour on the hour, do a single set of each of those exercises at a medium intensity. Like, and do this for like 10 hours or 8 hours throughout the day. Like, take a break, eat a little bit, go back. Here we go. 1 set of squats. And try to match every hour is the same. So if I pick a weight and I pick a rep range, I do that same thing throughout the day. The goal isn't high intensity. The goal is not to go to failure or super fatigue myself. It's just to do this crazy practice throughout the day and see what happens. And I have some theories. One of my theories is I'll feel like my performance will increase within that day, kind of midday. Like by the 4th hour, I'll probably feel really strong and then maybe start to see some fatigue. But I really want to see what will happen by pushing that.
So I've kind of played a little bit with that, not to that level,
It's like trigger sessions times a million, right?
Right. Well, like where you just kind of like, so I kind of thought of like breaking the MAPS workout up over the entire day. Instead of like it being all in 1 hour, it's like I'll do 3 workouts today that are quarter the size, right? Or 4 workouts quarter the size, and just those, and then move on.
It'd be interesting to see how that
little
works.
15-minute sessions.
The thing that I wonder that I can see where it could really benefit strength, mechanics. I wonder if there's any drawback of not allowing the pump enough of blood into the same muscle group area.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not going to be
aesthetically ideal.
Well, it might be because it's a change.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's a great point. It's a great point because you've never done that. That's the part. So I've thought
it's also going to require all fucking day, and you need to be next to a gym or something.
You know what? Well, what would make this? And I've talked about this with Katrina and I actually discussed this because we were talking about actually pulling a page out of Juji's book. I have this big, huge living room and dining room area that we don't really use. And I thought, what if we put like a platform and a squat rack there, so I could deadlift and squat and overhead press right there, and then I just start
because that's what we're going to do. We're in the garage.
Yeah, and then just throughout the day, like, hey, let's go get a set or 2 of squats in real quick, and then we'll come back later on and we'll go get some deadlifts in.
Yeah,
and just kind of sporadically throw it. Yeah, we've talked about doing this, and I'm curious and what that looks like, and we may do that. So I'll keep people posted. I know we have it here, so I kind of have done. That's what I meant by.
But you'd have to be here all day.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It'd be cool if it was at home, and you're like, hey, let's just chill at home all day. We'll watch movies in between. You know, we could do a set every, and of course, you know, it helps that my girlfriend is a fanatic about it as well, so we'll have fun while we're doing it. But I mean, it would be impossible without that in your home, right? Otherwise, you're gonna have to park your car outside the gym, go in your car in between, or I don't know, live in the gym all day.
Well, what I have done, that like I say, I've kind of meddled in it a little bit, is like we'll get here early and I'll kind of do a couple exercises, not even really break a sweat because I'm only doing 1 or 2 things. Then before we leave here, I do another 1 or 2 things, and then I actually go to the gym later on in the night, and then I basically, like I said, breaking up the MAPS programming in 3 different workouts. And it's funny because you don't really break a hard sweat. It doesn't seem like it's really, really challenging, but I accomplished the same amount of volume. So what I did notice was I didn't see a loss. I for sure didn't go backwards.
It's challenging the frequency model even further. You know what I mean? It's taking it to the next level and really, because think about it. If I'm doing, because I did the math, right? I said, okay, if I do 8 hours of this, where at the beginning of the hour I do this, and I do, 2 sets per exercise. That's it. Just 2 sets of squats, 2 sets of overhead press, 2 sets of pull-ups. I'm doing 16 sets of those exact same exercises throughout the whole day, which is more volume than I normally would have done. Way more volume than I normally would have done with those exercises. So, but because it's like an hour in between, I'm not going to get the same kind of fatigue. So it's taking the MAPS philosophy and just making it super extreme, and it very well may be too much, and very well do it and then afterwards be like, well, that didn't work. Or it could be something cool to do every once in a while.
There's some really cool benefits I think that there are with this, and even though I haven't done it all the time with the weights, I also follow this idea of moving after I consume, and this is something Katrina and I were talking about this.
After you eat food?
Yeah, so she's like, you got to share this on the podcast. She goes, I've never really thought about that until you just shared that with me, so here you go. So when we went to your breakfast spot over by your your old Abs.
Next to my old
and
gym.
we did your little walk. I went back to the houses, and her and I walked afterwards.
Oh, it's a great walk.
And so we're talking while we're back there, and I said, have you ever thought about what we've evolved to now? Where think about the average American probably eats anywhere between 2 to 4 meals in a day. And probably a lot of people are driving on a commute and shoveling something in their mouth, or they sit at a restaurant and eat somewhere. Have you ever thought, and I've told people this before, that if we actually got outside, the average American walks about 4,000 steps a day. If you were to go outside and you were to walk for 1 hour, you would accomplish about 8,000 steps. So that means that the average American doesn't even step for 30 minutes consistently through the day. Now think of this.
That's horrible.
That means the average American spends more fucking time consuming than they do moving. To the minute when you think about that.
Oh yeah.
So put that into perspective. And think if you actually just made a conscious effort.
More people probably spend time on the toilet.
Well, think if you just made a conscious effort
I do.
Time. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but this is what I said to her. I said, imagine if we we sat down at the restaurant. As soon as we sat down at the restaurant, I hit the stopwatch and just let the time go. We wait, we order our food, we consume our food, we relax, we coffee, this and that. Boom, I look at the stopwatch and 32 minutes goes by. what if I just walked and moved for the same amount of time that I actually sat to fucking eat? What would that do? What would that do from a calorie expenditure, and how much would that negate everything that I'm actually taking in, and what a difference that could make?
Oh, that would be huge. Not to mention, from a cultural standpoint, all of the ancient cultures, all of the old cultures of the world where they've had societies for a long time, it is embedded in their culture, and in some of them in part of their religions even, to go for a walk after you eat. Now, I know in the Mediterranean, like my family's from Sicily, right? After you eat, it's like that's what you do. You eat, and then you go for a walk with people. In Asian cultures, they go for a walk, and it doesn't have to be like if you look at like Chinese cultures where they'll eat their meal and then they'll go for a walk afterwards. It's not like they're cruising real fast. It's real slow, kind of nice walk. And this is kind of cool. If you look at all these old cultures and look at some of the things that they have embedded in their cultures, many of the reasons why they have these things embedded is because they have health benefits, and that's why they became a part of their culture. The health benefits of walking after you eat, Adam touched upon the calorie burn, but besides that,
The digestive process too.
the digestive look at, first of all, astronauts many times have issues with digestion in space because of lack of gravity. The reason why your butthole is at the bottom of your body and your mouth hole is at the top of your body is because gravity assists in the digestive process. And if you don't believe me, hang yourself upside down for 2 days and see how many times you poop. Okay?
Or just hang yourself upside down and eat. How uncomfortable that sounds.
Yeah, right.
That
So-
just sounds uncomfortable.
You'd be throwing up poop.
Exactly. It's a very important part of the digestive process is gravity and moving, exercising and moving. By the way, there's hip flexors, the psoas, for example, that travels through the body and literally is in and around your digestive organs. And many times inflammation in your gut will cause hip problems because it affects the psoas, and vice versa. Psoas issues can cause digestive issues, especially if it's inflamed because it's all in that same vicinity.
Yeah.
So walking and moving and using those hip
Connective
flexors
tissue. It's all connected.
it actually encourages the digestive system to move and to digest food. Moving encourages the production of stomach acids. And I know people are like, oh, I have heartburn, I have too much acid. Not true. Usually heartburn is a result of too little acid in the gut, and so you get this kind of rebound effect. So walking and moving post-meal is a crucial part of effective digestion. And some people, especially those that are on the more constipated side, notice that it goes away if they go for a 10 or 15-minute walk post-meal.
And you think it's so crazy how backwards we are now, because we evolved our entire life for thousands of years having to travel miles and hike forever to find and scavenge food, right? Then you get it, you consume as much as you can, and then the next day you get up and you do the same thing again. You hike and you go forever, and maybe if you're lucky you find food that day, maybe you don't. And then there's very little time is spent actually sitting and consuming. We're so the opposite that we barely fucking walk and ever have to move, and all we do is sit down and consume. It's so ass backwards.
How many yoga classes have you guys taken?
Total?
Yeah, like you've been in a class.
Like an actual class.
5, maybe.
Maybe 5?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
3.
Have you guys ever noticed, this is a big joke with yoga instructors, you ever hear like people farting in class?
Totally.
It's a big thing, they'll tell
Especially
you.
old ladies.
And I remember when I took my first class, I heard a couple, and I'm like, oh shit. And it even happened to me. And the yoga instructor's always like, hey, that's totally normal. It's part of yoga. It's part of movement. It gets things moving. And I thought that was hilarious, but it's absolutely true. Like, movement encourages digestion. It encourages things to move through the body. It is, it makes perfect sense. And here's the other thing too. When you eat sometimes and you feel kind of sluggish and like, I feel like I want to take a nap. If you walk after you eat, you just don't get that.
No, you feel awesome.
You feel awesome.
We always feel so
That's a
good
great
after-
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, though. When you put it in perspective like that, like, whoa,
It's just a simple thing.
that's a trip,
Yeah.
right? Like, do we literally spend more fucking time on our ass shoveling into our mouth than we actually just do walking to get the food, whatever? And it's so backwards.
I'm going to open a restaurant where you pick whatever you want to eat, and then we put you in a room with that food, and now you have to catch it and kill it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I want a burger. Here's your cow. You know, fucking
not a
calorie
liability at
deficit,
all.
bro. Even though you had a double burger, you actually burned 3,000 calories trying to
Well,
kill
you
that.
remember, I think this was just like, this was when we first started, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. That guy got all kinds of publicity for losing like 100 and something pounds. And of course, it was a commercial for Walmart. But the idea was kind of clever and smart, and that's why I think it got so much traction was, you know, he ate at Walmart, 3 times a day, but he had to walk. His Walmart was like 2 miles away. So it was 2 miles there, 2 miles back. Yeah. So he walked there, he consumed, then he walked back.
It's the same story with Jared. And
Right.
then it all
what? I don't know if it's the same story as
It
Jared.
is. He went to walk to get his foot long, and then he walked somewhere. But that was all part of his process.
And so
then he
walked
got
past
into kids.
He
And
walked past the school every day. That's
exactly.
That's where it went all bad.
It all went to hell.
I'm sure he's getting plenty of footlong in jail right now. Fuck that guy.
Submarine.
Well, excellent. Look, 30 days of coaching is available at mindpumpmedia.com, and it's free. It's a amazing resource for information on all things fitness and wellness. We've put a lot of time and energy into this, and it doesn't cost anything. You just go to mindpumpmedia.com, opt in, and you'll get all that information. Also, you can follow Adam's journey. Looks like he's trying to get super buffed again, and it's on his Instagram at mindpumpadam. My page is mindpumpsal. Justin is mindpumpjustin. And also, leave us a review on iTunes. When we like the reviews and we pick the best ones, those people get free t-shirts. So if you want a free t-shirt,
We hook him up.
leave a review.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.